Thank God it's Friday. Yes, the final trading day of the week. Look forward to seeing how the market closed on the show today. And of course, following Okomu Oil's strong performance in the first half of 2024, the company is now projecting a 68% pre-tax profit decline amidst attack from militant groups who are demanding a 25% shareholding in the company. That we'll get into. And of course, 4 manufacturing firms recorded a negative shareholders' equity of 608 billion naira in the first half of 2024. And we're seeing a number of earning results come out right now, and with the big banks as well. Some might be moved by this to get their hands on these stocks. Is now a good time? I'm going to have that conversation with Frank in just a bit. Welcome. I am Joanna Mustafa. Let's get a quick review of activities on the NGX today. NGX, the market finished the first week of September in the green, up 23 basis points. All share index is at 96,433.53. Market cap is 55.39 trillion. That's where the market cap is closing out for the week. If you zoom out at all 5 trading days for the week, the market declined marginally by 0.54%. Though we have 3 days of gains, you know, they weren't strong enough to edge out the bears. So yes, we closed bearish. We're seeing some fight back, nevertheless, of course, spillover from the final week of August. Let's see if we can have a greener September, hopefully. Coming down to the top gainers, top stocks driving the gains, of course. Oando rebounding here after its 2-day decline. Now today it's up 10%, alongside UAC of Nigeria, also up 10% there now at 20 naira 90 kobo. Bega also up 9.97%. But is it possible that we see the bulls push Oando above, you know, 100 naira share price next week? That's something perhaps we can explore, and that will be another milestone we'll be seeing Oando, cross. But of course, we still have Bega Paints up 9.97%. RT Briscoe, is the bounce back? Can we trust this bounce, right? Last week it was in the green. This week, Monday to Thursday, in the red. And today it's closing the week in the green, up 9.83%. We'll see what happens. Perhaps, you know, investors are buying the dip. Who knows whether or not this can be sustained. Let's move now to the top losers. Deep Cap continuing its downward trend, down 9.62%. And of course, we also have PZ Cussons is in the red today. And this is just a week after it posted annual losses of 76.02 billion naira. And there's also been conversation around it being, you know, 28 billion naira deep in negative equity. So perhaps that's what's driving activity there. Eterna, you know, down 6.25%. We have Consolidated Hallmark as well, down 5.59%. And ICO, it looks like we have a lot of financial services, Deep Cap, Consolidated Hallmark, and ICO on the top losers list today. Finally, let's come to the top movers when it comes to volume and value. We're seeing Jais Bank up there in terms of volume, Zenith Bank following. But I believe when it comes to value, Transcorp PLC is leading that pack when it comes to value traded for the day. But again, these are the stocks shaking or moving the markets today. Before we get that detailed breakdown and analysis from Muktar Mohammed, who'll be joining us later in the show, we'll take the spotlight first, getting perspective on the best time to buy into a stock. So stay with us. All right, with a rally on certain stocks following strong company earning results, some investors may be seduced or swayed to buy in, you know, on a stock so as not to miss out in the rally. Some will call it FOMO. This stock is doing well now, so let me quickly buy. But we have Frank, of course, in, you know, to provide, you know, his perspective and join the conversation. And maybe even share your experience. It's a pleasure to have you in, Frank.
Thank you, Jonah.
Yeah, so I'll begin by sharing mine, and this may or may not be my experience.
Okay.
But, you know, last week we saw RT Briscoe in the green, a lot of buzz around it. Earning results had come out the week before. So I was tempted to buy Monday morning.
Yeah.
But, and all week it's been in the red.
Okay.
Today, thankfully, in the green. But then questions, of course, you have to ask yourself questions. When is the best time to buy into a stock? Is it after earning results? What am I buying at that point in time?
Yeah. Okay, so what I just think basically is that after the earnings result, everyone, there'll be FOMO in the atmosphere. Everyone will be trying to jump on a particular stocks. And I'm a bit of a contrarian. Whatever the masses are doing, I always step back because you always hear from foremost investors, the likes of Berkshire Hathaway, and what's his name again? I've forgotten his name, but the billionaire Warren Buffett, exactly.
Yes.
He says that once the market is excited, and you should be scared. You should be very, very cautious. But if the market if there's a lot of fear, and if you check the fear and greed index and you see a lot of fear in the market, that's the moment when you get excited. So when the result comes out, you want to be careful because that is when people are selling out their bags. And what do I mean by that? You end up becoming the exit liquidity for a lot of investors who have been able to catch in before the rally.
Yeah, so you're buying pretty much the earning results when it's overhyped.
Exactly.
And the price hasn't quite settled. So, I mean, is it ever a good idea to purchase a stock around that earning results, period, or when there's that buzz, ever?
Anyways, it depends on what the outcome, what the result is, you get. So it depends on what the result is. And if you've done your own research, so you want to do your own research, make sure the excitement in the market is not based on emotions. It's based on facts and data. And how do I mean by that? There's some excitement in the market that is caused by news. So sometimes you see the market becoming excited, news. Sometimes you see the market, there's some sentimental analysis to what is happening in the market, price action playing out. But you have to calm down, forget about the noise, and investigate. Do your own research, fundamental analysis. Find out why this stock, why it's doing well. Find out about their corporate governance. Find out about their operations. Find out about their numbers. For instance, I'll give you take for instance. During COVID, many of the telcos did amazing numbers. Why? People were home. They were calling their loved ones. They were making use of the internet. Work from home was so much of a thing, and the demand was there. Demand and supply is just basic. Market will rally up, and that's why when I think is really the best time to go about that. I remember when I bought my first telco shares, it was their season. Because I saw it's just basic. Even a blind person. Are you
happy with that decision right now with how telcos are doing? But we also know telcos right now, right? There's some level of MTN, for example. Their earning results weren't so good. They have experienced that dip. Some sell off to some extent.
Come on.
Do you think now is a good time to buy dips? Right. That kind of period is a good time to buy.
It's not a financial advice.
Dips.
But here is the catch. The market is filled with peaks and valleys. And so you see them at their, I don't want to say the lowest. You see MTN around the lowest.
Buy the dip, they say.
Yes, buy the dip, they say. But then you have to be cautious because you just might end up catching a falling knife. What if that dip is not the depth? You get and some dips are like bottomless.
So you have to
just
look at
end
the
up
decisions.
liquidating your entire account. So you have to be careful. Know the reason why this company is saying, okay, we experienced some losses. And the reason for that of MTN was because of the FX exposure, the losses they experienced, the entire FX crisis in our market. And so it put them in a bit of a mess. This is like one of the first times they are not giving dividends. And a lot of investors, stakeholders, we had shareholders meeting and you see people talking. Why? What is the reason? And they were explaining. So you need to understand the reason behind some activities, especially the reason behind some numbers, and don't just jump at it because it's a number. So those numbers, you have to extrapolate the information from those data to give you a buying decision or a selling decision.
So there's also a strategy to buying the dip and all of that. Thank you so much. It's been so interesting, getting, your perspective. But before I let you go, let's focus on, buying potentials. Focus on, potential. Is it a good idea to buy potential, right? Perhaps, a company has announced they're making this decision, that decision, but you haven't seen the results yet on their bottom line. So would you say that's a good time, to
So the first time you came on TV screen, your first ever experience on TV, it was somebody investing in you, in your potentials, because it's not that you've proven yourself in the past. I don't know if you get my point. So people will always see, actually, when you see the potentials and it's something that is handy, there's a viable market for that company. You're seeing a perfect product market fit. that is just basic.
Than a ready-made
Everyone wants to,
product.
exactly. You don't want to invest in something that is so massive, because why? If you invest in an asset that is really, really massive, there's only a little run that you can experience. But something, if you invest in potentials, you're most likely going to see the next 10x, 20x, 100x, and who knows, voila, might just be the case in the market.
All right, you know where to invest. All right, it's been interesting having you on, Frank, on the show. Of course, we're heading on a break right now. And afterwards, we'll head back to the markets. NGX CEO Asha Investment Limited, Muktar Mohammed, he brings in some perspective. All right, we're delighted to have the CEO, Asha Investment Limited, here on Pulse of the Day, Muktar Mohammed. Good afternoon. It's great to have you in.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Let's begin with what's happening with Okomu Oil Palm Company, PLC. We've seen them projecting it's not every time you see a company project a pre-tax loss, right, profit of 3.5 billion. In the second half of 2024. And that's basically a 68% decline, right, from the corresponding period in 2023. So the manufacturers basically have been witnessing a series of, bandit attacks that have disrupted the company's operations. So share with us, some more insight on what's happening there, as well as some of the demands being made.
Well, it's news that Okomu will be doing that, but they've done very well over the years. So they have a lot of faithful investors there. I'm sure most of the investors might just see this as an opportunity to even get more of Okomu by virtue of this result if it brings down the price. But I don't think it will affect their payment in terms of dividend. They have a very robust earnings reserve. So that could just be the attraction. A lot of investors will still go in there, but first of all, when this news comes to the market, you see this negative response. But I think Okomu will stabilize, and a lot of investors want to buy in, especially those that have missed out. Still believe that there's a lot of potential in Okomu. Yeah, it's insecurity, and we don't expect it to last forever. We expect that government will step in, and the things will not be like that again. So. Definitely, yes, the performance calls for concern because they have to do with insecurity. But for designing investors, this could just be a better time to cash in.
Okay, faithful investors, you said. But we also know that some of the bandits are actually demanding 25% shareholding, right? That is, what they're demanding for them to give the company peace. What do you make of this? And do you see a resolution close by?
I think it's a failure on the side of government when you hear things like this, because these are no spirit. For people to be so bold to say you should give them 25% of your holding of your company. It's not something you want to talk outside. It's not something that make international committee. You're talking about a corporate company. You're talking about bandits trying to own share in a corporate company. I don't think it's something to laugh about. It's something that the government need to take very seriously, because it's not an Okomu issue. If the bandits are requesting 25% holding of a company, what that means that bandits have become, is not saying that banditry is part of our life. And that is what sometimes they call it illicit fund. These ones are not even illicit fund. They are directly saying, I want to own this company 25%. That is the ransom you pay for it. I don't think they should bow to that. I think government should be some security in that area.
Yeah, of course, it's not positive signaling to, even FDIs, right? It's attracting other companies to come invest in Nigeria. But you've mentioned, again, faithful investors, people, those who hold the shares, seeing this through. Do you also, how do you envision this impacting its performance on the NGX, Okomu Oil?
Like I said, this performance, I expect that it will be mixed. It create opportunity for other investors that really want to own that share to come in. Some investors will say, look, we made so much profits, they want to sell. So depending on your goal, they can sell some unit out of it. Remember, this is stock that have been consistently moving. And like I said, it will not affect their dividend payment. Most Nigerian investors are very excited when it comes to dividend payment. And especially at a time like this, where you have economic crunch, cash become king.
All right, we'll see how this pans out, and that's definitely something we'll be monitoring. Coming down, I mean, no one wants to, no one wants to look at a company that they have invested in go bust. Nobody wants to see that happen, but it's always right to, have some information at hand. So we're taking a look at shareholders' equity for the first half of the year. We're focusing on manufacturers. We're seeing Dangote Cements, they recorded the highest shareholders equity of 2.11 trillion naira in the first half of 2024. Do you see this, how do you see this influencing sentiments and confidence in the stock, considering the downward trend over the past 2 months? We've seen Dangote Cement take a hit.
Well, for your information, today there was an off-market transaction on Dangote's of about 11 million units of that shares. That tells you a lot of confidence is still in that shares. You also must know that the African richest man who last strong about 90-something% of that share. So the why you're seeing that equity share of that equity high, because they did a share buyback, which means that the company was buying back the shares. And when you say who's buying back the share, that means that Aligo Dangote was buying back his shares. So I'm not surprised in terms of the equity, but sentiment in that shares is always mixed because, like I said, liquidity in that share is very low. You don't see it so much in the market because of Aligo Dangote holds so much of it.
The majority shareholder, right? So what's your, moving away from Dangote Cement, what's your outlook for other Dangote subsidiaries' performance on the NGX ahead, considering they're getting better press than they have gotten in the past couple of months? Today, we did see NASCON in the red today, but what's your overall outlook for Dangote subsidiaries?
Outlook still remain, for me, stable, but not so much of something to be so excited about. Remember that they are still dealing with FX challenges. Those challenges are still there. So we're expecting them to post losses in FX. That will definitely happen. Things have not really changed. FX is still high. Cost of production is still high. Consumer perception is still also very high. Remember that these are consumer goods, whether it's cement, whether it's salt or whatever. So for consumer perception, still very, very low earning ability of Nigerians. So I don't expect so much of a positivity in that stock going forward, especially when those results will hit the market and we might see those losses again.
Okay, we might see those losses again. I mean, that doesn't sound exactly like good news. But let's get back to shareholders' equity. This time we're focusing on two market competitors, Nigerian breweries, international breweries. One is in the negative, right, of 22.1 billion, while the other, international breweries, alongside Dangote Cement, they're topping the list of firms with the highest shareholders' equity in the first half. What accounts for this differentiation between international breweries, Nigerian breweries, when it comes to this shareholders' equity? I beg your pardon.
You shouldn't forget that international brewery just listed their right offer. So that's why you've seen that before now, they also were a negative shareholding, but they just listed their right offer. So that has brought them to a positive shareholding. Nigerian brewery will be doing that. They're already talking to their shareholders. For every 11, you get 5 new Nigerian breweries. So they are also looking at raising capital to help their shareholders to get to the positive. So the difference between Nigerian international brewery and then Nigerian breweries is that international brewery have finished their right issue, so they have moved from the negative to positive. And I think by the time Nigerian brewery finish their right issue, so it will definitely move. Nothing really exciting that happened in that space.
All right, so we'll see that balance out. Thank you so much. It's always an insightful session with you, Muktar Mohammed, the CEO of Asha Investment Limited.
Thank you for having me.
All right, a pleasure. Up next, we take a peek at what's happening across African markets. We are seeing the JSE, it's largely bullish, save the JSE in the red. It's down 51 basis points. Its all-share index is now below its record high at 81,727.13. But Morocco's index, Egypt's index, Nairobi's index, all up for today. And there goes our show for today. And of course, the week being the Friday edition, we'll continue to track the pulse of the markets, 4 p.m. West African time. Every weekday, it's Market Pulse here on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. Now we're heading to the global markets. Enjoy your weekend.